I was introduced to Ashraf through my executive producer, Carrie Lamack, who was working with Ashraf in an organization of survivors of terrorist attacks, the Global Survivors Network. And she had a number of people who had survived who were victims of or who had survived terrorist attacks. And what struck me about Ashraf was partly what you had said, which is that he is motivated not out of anger or revenge, but really out of hope. And he's taken this tremendously horrible experience and turned it into something really incredible, and is taking a message of nonviolence around the world and taking it to some really difficult audiences. And that, to me, was his spirit and his forward-looking and the absence of recrimination that he had was really inspiring to me. So I wanted to follow his story.
Well, I started filming veterans about 1.5 years before I met Robin, and they were involved in something called the Combat Paper Project, and similar to Ashraf, in taking something negative and turning it to something positive. They were taking their uniforms they wore in Iraq and cutting them up and beating them to a pulp and making paper and art out of them. And so I initially got involved in this project, but I felt like I needed something more. And so when I met Robin, she was about to embark on the whole VA process, which is a very long, grueling process. And it's very, they treat you like you're just a number. And so I really wanted to show this aspect of what it's like to be a veteran, to go through the VA. And so I filmed her for about 1 year, and her story just took on this other life, and I didn't know how to fit her story into my other film that I was working on.
The verite footage was so extraordinary that I felt that once there was a string out, it was clear that without Sara shooting another foot of film, there would be a spectacular movie in it, because we rarely get that close to someone at so many points in their life, and the arc of her story has a happy ending. You know.
There have been a number of screenings all over Israel, several at the Tel Aviv Cinematheque, one entirely for the population of the school. And interestingly enough, in this conflict-ridden region, the irony of this film has brought a lot of attention to the school. We've gotten numerous emails for people wanting to contribute money to the school, and film festivals all over the world, particularly in the Middle East.
Don't underestimate the number of Jewish film festivals in the world.
In 2008, I came across a humanitarian alert about the Carteret Islands. Because of global warming and rising seas, they're being forced to go out and look for a new homeland. The salt water inundates their freshwater sources and their gardening land. And so when we went there, the clan chiefs from the island had selected a group of their strongest young leaders to go out and essentially start paving the way for the relocation to this much larger mountainous island 50 miles across the open ocean.
A few of the islanders, Nick and Kathleen, who are our main characters and stand out in this clip that you saw, did speak a little bit of English. And they also spoke Pidgin, which is, of all of the foreign languages, that's about the easiest to learn. So we picked up enough to understand a little bit in a few weeks.
One of our supporters visited that area in 2007, the spring of 2007. She said that they're interesting NGO working in that area, and she said, why don't you go take a look at that region? And at that time, we finished 2 films, and I would like to work on an environmental film at that time, so she was very instrumental telling us about the story. But the film was shown at with environmental groups, selected groups, and they're very excited about the film.
Okay. Can I just say one other quick thing, which is to look at those 5 excerpts is to really be blown away by the reach of American documentary film right now. I mean, it's just, from a point of view of competition, it's totally intimidating, but from the point of view of looking at the whole field, It's really exhilarating. I was really knocked out.